Hello, everyone. Welcome to my very first weekly check in for my self guided course with The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. So, Wednesday, like 6 days ago, I read chapter one of this book. Chapter one was called Recovering a Sense of Safety. So, for week one, this week initiates your creative recovery. You may feel both giddy and defiant, hopeful and skeptical. The readings, tasks, and exercises aim at allowing you to establish a sense of safety, which will enable you to explore your creativity with less fear. So, a majority of this chapter this week was talking about shadow artists. And I found myself getting very angry when reading about shadow artists because chapter one is telling me, Samantha, you don't take yourself seriously as an artist. And if you don't take yourself seriously, how do you expect other people to take you seriously? I guess this made me mad because I think it's right. And I don't like being called out on my bullshit because who does, right? But it's like, yeah, shadow artists, like, they think they're talented, that it's something that they want, and they do everything and anything they can to be around art and other artists, but they don't fully commit to being an artist. And I'm like, okay, that's some heavy stuff, Cameron, but okay. While I was reading the chapter, I took some notes on things that kind of jumped out to me. So here's my list of notes from reading chapter one this week of The Artist's Way. In order to move from the realm of shadows into the light of creativity, shadow artists must learn to take themselves seriously. Yeah, I was not happy being told I'm a shadow artist. It made me very mad. Another thing that stood out to me, at some point she said progress, not perfection. Negative beliefs are exactly that, beliefs, not facts. That statement actually made me think of Tinkerbell when you see a live production of like Peter Pan, everyone, and they're like, come on everyone, clap your hands if you do believe. I do believe in fairies. I do. And I'm like, yeah, I do believe I'm an actor. I do. Because if you tell yourself something enough times, eventually you'll start to believe it, right? So that's something that stood out to me. Also, all too often it is audacity and not talent that moves an artist to center stage. You can be talented, but if you don't have the tenacity to get in people's faces and promote yourself and your work, no one's going to know about you. So there you go. That's how I interpreted that. She also talks about that negative self-chatter in your head all the time and compared it to Cruella de Vil. It's like, yeah, it's like that negative chatter, telling you can't do things and you're worthless and why bother, give up, you're a fool, blah, blah, blah. It's like we all have our own little Cruella de Vils inside of our heads. Like, I'm a Disney fan, so the fact that this chick in this book just told me I have a Cruella de Vil in my head, I'm on board. All right, let's go. For sure. We all have negative self-talk. There's a lot of people on the internet talking about like self-care for artists and actors and how to deal with things that they didn't teach us how to deal with when we got our theater degrees in school, right? And one of the things that they say is it's easier to talk to your self-doubt when you give it a name. And I think I like to call my negative self-talk Kate because of that Disney Channel TV show Lizzie McGuire. Kate was the name of the bully of Lizzie at school, like the queen bee sort of deal. And I don't know, I just always imagine her to be Kate. It's like, Samantha, you can't do that. What are you doing? Ew. But yeah, I want to take a moment to talk about this negative self-talk, if you don't mind. So after you give it a name and you talk to it, I'm told that you have to accept and embrace the fact that your negative self-talk isn't intentionally trying to hurt you. It's actually trying to keep you safe, right? So, oh, that thing you want to do, that's scary. I'm afraid. I don't think you should do that. That's a bad idea. You might get hurt, and I care about you. So, Samantha, please don't do that. And then I got to be like, thank you, Kate, for wanting to keep us safe. You know what? You're right. This is scary. So let's hold hands and do this together because I need you. Which is a much different thing than, shut up, Kate. Don't tell me what to do, right? So that's something else that they mention in chapter 1, is taking what they call blurts, all that negative self-chatter, things in your head telling you you can't do it, you're not good enough, why even bother, and turning them into positive affirmations. And an affirmation is a strong positive statement that something is already so. Yeah, they wanted you to make a list of blurts that randomly pop into your head and turn them into positive affirmations all week long. Before your morning pages each day. So, for example, I'll tell you one of my blurts I wrote down and the positive affirmation that I ended up turning it into. I said, I'm not pretty enough. That's one of my blurts. I used to tell myself this a lot. It's like, Samantha, you can't be an actress professionally for a career because actresses are pretty and you're not pretty enough. So I turned that into a positive affirmation by saying, I am who I am and I am enough. And that's supposed to help me. So we'll see. I don't know. Again, tell yourself something enough times. I thought it was funny because something in chapter 1 she wanted you to do was write 10 times in a row. I, Samantha, am a brilliant and prolific actress. So I think, again, the point of that, after you write it 10 times in a row, by the 10th time, you're thinking, yeah, I am prolific. All right, go me. And you're a little bit more self-assured because that's what positive affirmations are supposed to help get you to. But by like the 4th or 5th time I was writing this out, I just kept thinking, what does prolific mean? so I had to look it up. Apparently it means plentiful. So I am a brilliant and plentiful actress. I have plenty of talents to give to you. If you hire me, you are welcome. Prolific. And now we know. I thought that was funny. So yeah, that's some of the experiences I had while reading chapter 1. And then chapter 1 gave me some tasks to do throughout the week, one of them being coming up with some blurts and turning them into positive affirmations. It also wanted me to create a Monsters Hall of Fame and a Champions Hall of Fame. So I was supposed to dig deep into my past and do some mental time traveling and try to remember people in my life who said things to me that really brought me down, that affected me so much that it may be keeping me from achieving my most authentic creative self now. And then people who are always rooting for me and there for me. Obviously, number 1 on the list of Hall of Champions is my mom. She's always telling me, no matter what I complain to her about, no matter what I'm talking about, she's like, you'll figure it out because you always do. Great is mom, am I right? One of my monsters I want to share with you, I don't even remember his name, but there is a college professor I had who said to me, he was talking about elevator pitches, how if you're in the elevator with someone, you have to be able to be like, hi, I'm Samantha Joy, I am blank, fill in the blank. And it has to be one thing, he said. You have to pick one thing that you are good at, that you want to do, so you can properly promote yourself and your services to other people. He said you can't be in an elevator with a major producer from a theater company and be like, hi, I'm Samantha Joy. I do a little bit of everything. Call me. You have to say, hi, I'm Samantha Joy. I am an actress. Or, hi, I'm Samantha Joy. I am a stage manager. For some reason, he told me that I need to believe. I'm not allowed to say, hi, I'm Samantha Joy. I'm a technical theater production person and an actress. What can I do for your show? Like, for some reason, he didn't want me to have choices. At least that's how I interpreted it, right? You're in college, you're still learning stuff, you don't know any better, you're soaking everything up, you're trying desperately to figure out and make sense of everything everyone tells you because you ask the same question to several people and get different answers. Those of you who majored in college with theater, you know what I'm talking about, right? Anyone ever, you know what I'm talking about. Communication, am I right? So I think now that I've lived some life, and it's been a hot minute since I've been in college, I can think back on that and realize maybe what he meant to say was you can't do everything all at once. Right? That's different than you can't do everything. You have to pick one thing. That's what he said. But what I want to believe he meant was you can't do everything at once. You have to pick one thing to do at a time, right? It's like when you have a work resume and you're applying for jobs, depending on the type of job you're applying for, you might give them a different resume. You have different kinds of resumes catered to specific types of jobs that you are applying for to ensure you get the job. Same with an elevator pitch. Depending on who you meet and what you want to do for them, that's what you choose to tell them in that moment. You cater your speech and your self-promotion to whoever you're talking to based on what you want to give them and what you want them to know you as in that moment. I should be a college professor. I think that was pretty good, no? Anyway, so that was one of my monsters, my old college professor. Something that stuck with me. Be careful what you tell people, because you never know what they're going to latch onto and remember forever, and you may accidentally affect their lives. Just saying. Something else, another one of my tasks this week was to list my top 5 imaginary lives. So if I wasn't who I am and doing what I'm doing now, what else would I want to be? So my top 5 imaginary lives, I said famous musician, singer-songwriter. Right? I want to play guitar on stage and sell albums and have people think I'm amazing. I want to be a famous novelist. Another alternative life might be an advertising director for a company of some kind because marketing is cool. I always thought I might be good at that. An owner or operator of a studio space. I think it would be cool to have a space where people can come for like dances and dance classes and rehearsals and performances and to rent that space out on the cheap for fellow artists and people to enjoy. And a kindergarten teacher. Hanging out with 5 and 6-year-olds is really fun. I think I'd like that. So that was that. I also had to write a letter to someone who inspired me and a letter to myself trying to defend myself against one of my monsters. So there was a lot of writing work this week with chapter 1, for sure. So every week something that you have to do is take yourself out on what she's calling an artist's date. So you have to go someplace by yourself and do something. Or not by yourself, you're with your inner artist child, right? So I took my inner artist child this week to the Wrigley Field baseball stadium because they had this nice little holiday/winter market festival of sorts. It was like a little carnival. They had ice skating and ice bumper cars and a little Chris Kindle market, and they had a carousel. I rode a carousel because I love carousels. I was on a horse and it was great, and that's something I enjoy doing because that's how cool I am. So that was my artist date with myself this week. I have to pick something new to do for week number 2 coming up, so stay tuned for stories of that adventure. So here's where we're at the end of week 1. Check-in questions include: how many days this week did you do your morning pages? And how was the experience for you? So let's talk for a hot sec about morning pages as described by Julia Cameron here in this book. From my understanding, it's just free association writing. You wake up, you roll out of bed, you open up a notebook, you put pen to paper, and you keep going until you fill a complete 3 pages every morning. Sounds simple enough. For me, I journal regularly. I'm a journal girl. You know, I journal all the time. So I've been struggling this week trying to figure out what the difference is, if there even is a difference at all, between these morning pages and regular journaling. Yeah? So I don't know if I've been doing morning pages every day this week, because even though I've attempted to journal every day, because usually I don't journal every day, just like I journal a lot, but not every single day. So this week I challenged myself to open my journal every single day and see what happened. But when I journal, it might be like a few paragraphs or a few sentences at a time. It might be at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I might do it multiple times a day, just whatever I need. If I need to like write something out to organize and slow down my thoughts so I can figure out what it is I feel about something, or I just want to complain about something and no one's available to pick up the phone, whatever. I journal a lot. But if I only do 1 page and not 3, and it's at 2:30 in the afternoon and not the second I wake up, and I'm writing a bit and then I pause and then I start daydreaming and then I shake my head and then I keep writing, is that still doing my morning pages? Or am I just regularly journaling? Does it count? Think about that, okay? Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on between morning pages versus journaling. What do you think? I'm curious to know. The second of the third question for this week's check-in is, did you do your artist date this week? What did you do and how did it feel? Yes, I did do my artist date. I went to Wrigley Field. It was fun. I rode a carousel. Great. And the third question is, were there any other issues this week that you consider significant for your recovering? Describe them. So like I said, I was thinking about, shadow artists and how I'm offended, because how dare this person who wrote this book, who doesn't even know me, call me a shadow artist. Ouch. But yeah, morning pages versus regular journaling was a thought I had. Creativity versus productivity is another thought I had, like structure versus freedom. Growing up, I was taught that there are certain words that have negative connotation to them, like plan and structure and schedule and routine, discipline, consistency, because artists are supposed to be new and exciting and free and spontaneous and adventurous and unpredictable. So if you're trying to be an artist and you want to be an artist, but you have routines and you plan things, what kind of artist are you? I don't know. That's something I've been struggling with this week, something I've been thinking about. Just want to throw that out there. See what you all think about that. Creativity versus productivity, and structure versus freedom. What does it mean to you to be an artist, but still get stuff done? So it's something I'm learning, which will be a fun process. It was really hard to accept the possibility that I have not been taking myself seriously in my chosen career so far. Since college, I've done a lot of technical theater. I've hung lights, I've stage managed, I've worked backstage, I've worked front of house, I've taken tickets and scanned tickets and handed out programs and showed people to their seats. I've worked concessions. I've moved sets. I've worked on the fly rail, I've been below the stage in orchestra pits for music concerts. I've done a lot of technical theater work. It seems if you audition for something you don't get cast, that's sad. You just keep auditioning until eventually someone casts you for something. But they're always looking for technicians. There's always shows and events happening. They always need help, and they're willing to pay. So that was a struggle, especially when I first moved to the big city, like I always wanted to. It took me longer than I thought it would. For some reason, I didn't think it would take so long to establish myself financially, and I thought I needed to be financially established to an extent before I could pursue what it was I came here to even do, which is be on the stage. Not behind the stage or below it or above it or in front of it. On the stage. Samantha, you want to be an actress. You moved to Chicago to act. Why are you just hanging lights? Because it paid the rent, right? And now this book has the nerve to tell me, because I was trying my best to do what I wanted to do and live in a big city and live my best life and follow my dreams, I'm a shadow artist and I'm not a real artist because I'm not taking myself seriously. From my perspective, I did not yet have the time or money to take myself seriously as an actress. It was a hardcore struggle. It still is in a lot of ways. I've worked my butt off to be where I am now. And I want to be so proud of myself for everything I've accomplished so far, even though I know that I still have a long way to go before I fully get to where it is I ultimately want to be, which is on a freaking stage, right? So, anyways, as you can see, if you read this book, emotions will happen. Let them, explore them, talk to them. Yeah, so thanks for being here. Again, comment below. Let me know your thoughts on this week's journey. If you took it yourself, I'd love to hear how it went for you in the comments below. And let me know how you feel about what I shared with you about my thoughts from this week. Looking ahead, starting tomorrow, I'm going to be reading chapter 2, which is called Recovering a Sense of Identity. So for week 2, this week addresses self-definition as a major component of creative recovery. You may find yourself drawing new boundaries and staking out new territories as your personal needs, desires, and interests announce themselves. The essays and tools are aimed at moving you into your personal identity, a self-defined you. So stay tuned for next week when I discuss what happens in week 2 of The Artist's Way.